Welcome back to Algebra 2, Chapter 5, Section 3. In this book, we've been talking all about quadratic equations. Quadratic equations have an x squared in them. Now, but we're going to learn a new way to solve it using square roots. And there's lots of ways to solve these things. You can do it by graphing, you can do it with your calculator, you can do it with a quadratic equation, you can complete the square, you can factor. Well, here's another way, but first we need to review square roots. So this is 9, and it is in Arkham Asylum for the Criminally Insane from Batman. And so the only way to get out is to have a twin, like Mas y Minos. And the factors of 9 in a factor tree are 3 and 3. Ding, 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 twins. You kill your twin, you get in the body bag, and out you go. So the square root of 9 is 3. You're looking for twins. Things that are squared, if we must be technical. Now, we didn't buy the origin story, so we don't know if this 9 came from 3 times 3 and is a hero like Jim Gordon, or if this 9 is a true villain and it came from -3 times -3, because 2 negatives make a positive. So usually, while you're doing math, the answer to the square root of 9 is 3, but every now and then they want it to be plus or minus 3. And when we do a quadratic equations, the reason why it needs to be plus or minus 3, because that means that is where our u is crossing the x-axis. That's x, that's y. Alright, so what's the square root of x squared? Well, x squared is made out of x times x, twins, so it's x. We don't say plus or minus x, we just say x. Okay, how about 24? What you do is you start making a factor tree. You think of two things that you multiply together to get 24. And I'm going to say 2 times 12. And 12 is 3 times 4, and 4 is 2 times 2. So I'm looking for twins. Here's some twins. 2 gets out and kills that one, but out goes a 2. But I still have in jail at the ends of the rest of my factor trees a 2 and a 3. They're still in Arkham. Draw a little box around them with some jail bars. And they get multiplied back together and they have to stay in jail. 2 times 3 is 6. So the square root of 24 is 2 times the square root of 6. Your book does it a different way. Do it this way. My way's the best. Because it talks about Batman. Okay, what about 6 and 15? What we can do is we can put them together. 6 times 15 is 90. And now we can do our thing. It's 9 times 10. 9 is 3 times 3. 10 is 2 times 5. 1 3 gets out, 1 goes away. 2 and 5 stay in jail. 3 times the square root of 10. But remember, we're saying plus or minus. That's pretty messy. Alright, let me see if I talked about everything I wanted to with that one. Yes. Okay, here's our next one. Sometimes the radical goes over both of them, and that's the same thing as square root of 7 over the square root of 16. And 16 is made out of the twins, 4 and 4. So this is the square root of 7 over 4. And I don't know if they bother with a plus or minus on that one or not. Let's see if they do. Let's peek in the book. No, they didn't bother. Alright, how about this one? Well, 7 is prime and 2 is prime. So really, there's nothing you can do. However, there's etiquette in math. That's weird, isn't it? Is there an Emily Post you write to with your etiquette questions? And it is considered bad etiquette to have a radical in the denominator. And this is the same thing as that. I hope you are properly offended by that rude 2 with its radical sign right there in the denominator. So the proper etiquette goes with the idea that you can do anything you want in math to a fraction as long as you do it to the numerator and denominator. And what I'm going to do is multiply by square root of 2. Square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2. You got 2 of them, there's your twins, 1 gets out. And 7 times 2 is 14. Whoa, isn't that so much more polite? But this is what my kids in college say. They said this is old-fashioned. A lot of times etiquette things get old-fashioned, like using thee and thou and whom and who. People don't really bother with that much anymore. And my college kids all say that in college they don't bother anymore. Those radical colleges. leaving, but that's the answer now. They're not bothering with that anymore. But you need to know it because in your book, with your homework, they expect you to follow the etiquette. So if you thought this was the answer and you looked in the back to check your homework, it was that, you'd be like, huh? What's that? And now you know. You know what that is. All right, how about this one? This, we're going to solve for x squared. So what's our question? Why is x not alone? Well, it's got a square root of 2 and a plus 1. We work from what's further away to what's closer, and what's the furthest away is plus 1. What's the opposite of plus 1? Minus 1. What we do to one side, we do to the other. What happens to those? They cancel out. What do we do with what we didn't mess with? We bring it down. 2x squared equals 17 minus 1 is 16. Now, why is x not alone? It's squared and has a 2. The 2 is considered further away. So the opposite of multiply by 2 is divide by 2. What I do to one side, I do to the other. Those cancel out. I bring down what I didn't mess with, and I get x squared equals 8. So why is x not alone? It's squared. What's the opposite? Square rooted. I'm sure that's a word. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. So x equals the square root of 8, but 8 is 2 times 4, and 4 is 2 times 2. That one goes away, that one gets out. So x equals, I'm backing up over here so I have a little bit more room. The 2, well, I should make a little more room here. Hold on, whoops. The 2 that got out and the 2 that's still in jail, but of course they want these to be plus or minus because they're parabolas. Okay, here's one more. Why is x not alone? Well, it's got a plus 5, a squared, and a 1/3. So where are we going to start? We're going to start with making it prettier. It is ugly. What is making it so ugly? The fraction. We hate fractions. So what is the opposite of multiplying by a third? Multiplying by 3. Because if we multiply by 3 on both sides, I have a 3 in the numerator and denominator, and they cross out. Ha! I got rid of that fraction. Alright, so now what do I do with what I didn't mess with? I bring it down. And 7 times 3 is 21. Now, why is it all messed up now? The thing furthest away is the squared, so I'm going to get rid of it first by doing the opposite, which is square rooting. I think that's not really a word, so don't make a fool out of yourself in college when the teacher says, what are you supposed to do? Say, you need to square rooting it. Just say, take the square root of both sides, I think is the correct grammar. Alright, so now that frees this to x plus 5 equals plus or minus the square root of 21. 21 is 3 times 7, they're both prime, it's there. Why is x not alone? It's got a plus 5, what's the opposite? Minus 5. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So the answer is negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 21. It's weird looking, but that's the answer. Alright, whoo! Practice, do the problems, do them on your calculator. Look at the word problem where they talk about the height formula. That's our one good use of this that we know in math. You plug everything in that formula and solve it. Easy peasy. It's our one thing we know how to do. Alright, come back and we will continue talking about the quadratic equation. Be sure to do the calculator labs. Watch them and practice them. You may use your calculator to the fullest extent of the law. Math is great.